Someone slams a coffee cup on your desk and says, "We need a new CRM system. Make it happen." No features, no boundaries, just demands. Accepting a request this vague makes it impossible to define a baseline. Without a baseline, your cost and schedule estimates are just guesses. By the time you reach your Level 6 endpoint assessment, you will lack the documented control evidence required to pass. Collecting project requirements is a clinical process. You have to extract, categorize, and control the exact parameters of what the business actually needs to function. To transform stakeholder wishful thinking into a locked-down, controllable project scope, you must apply the official Project Controls Toolkit. We start with expert judgment. Before writing down a single feature, you bring in specialists. You ask an IT architect or a cost engineer to validate if integrating a new CRM with your legacy software is actually feasible. In your Level 6 apprenticeship, this maps to your knowledge and skills requirements. You're demonstrating K1 for management governance and S1 for the ability to engage experts. Next is data gathering. A one-on-one interview with a store manager provides deep, personal insight into daily operations. Conversely, putting that manager in a focus group with other departments is the best way to spot conflicting requirements early. To resolve those conflicts, you use workshops, sometimes called Joint Application Design or JAD sessions. Locking stakeholders from finance, IT, and marketing in a room forces them to agree on features, which prevents expensive rework later in the project. If you need to poll hundreds of employees about system usability, you deploy questionnaires and surveys. They gather large amounts of data quickly, though they typically lack the analytical depth of a conversation. You also use benchmarking. By comparing requested features against industry standards like Salesforce, you ensure the project doesn't waste resources building standard features from scratch. This fulfills your B3 requirement for commercial awareness. These gathering tools strip away the impossible wish lists and leave you with actual operational constraints. You are neutralizing competing agendas before they ever touch your schedule. Data analysis begins with document analysis. You conduct a forensic review of old contracts and legacy system policies to ensure the new project doesn't repeat past implementation errors. Then you apply root cause analysis. When a stakeholder demands faster reports, they are describing a symptom. The actual problem is often a poorly structured database causing the lag. Once the data is clear, you use decision-making techniques to force a consensus. This might involve simple voting, requiring unanimity, a majority, or a plurality to select the final CRM features. This is a multi-criteria decision analysis matrix, or MCDA. It ranks competing requirements objectively. You score each feature against cost, value, and risk. This removes emotion, ensuring priorities align with the business case, satisfying the S6 skill for commercial decision-making. Data analysis and MCDA transform subjective stakeholder arguments into objective, commercially viable project decisions. To organize the results, you use data representation tools. Affinity diagrams and mind maps allow you to group raw data into clean categories, such as functional, technical, and user experience requirements. Categorizing requirements often leads to tension between departments. You will need interpersonal skills, specifically facilitation, conflict management, and active listening, to navigate disagreements over system costs. This context diagram maps what the CRM system will and will not touch, defining inputs and outputs with external systems. It provides a hard border against scope creep. If a stakeholder tries adding an HR database, this diagram proves it's outside the K2 scope. Finally, you use prototyping. Building a mock dashboard reduces ambiguity because stakeholders can interact with the proposed product before the heavy lifting begins. Modeling and prototyping are your final defensive mechanisms. They provide the visual proof required to stop unnecessary change requests before they impact the budget. By applying these categories of tools, that vague CRM request is now a measurable, realistic, and locked-down scope of work. This table maps core requirement tools to your PCP Level 6 KSB codes for the endpoint assessment. Remember the high-yield pairings, workshops for stakeholder alignment under S1, the MCDA matrix for commercial prioritization under S6, and prototyping for requirement validation under S2. To achieve a distinction, use the examiner's language. In your interview, state, I used workshops to reduce ambiguity, and I applied MCDA to prioritize requirements based on value and cost. These tools provide foundational control mechanisms for any project. Mastering them ensures your scope remains accurate, your estimates stay reliable, and your career in project controls remains firmly on track.